Hello everyone, welcome to Venus English. I brought an article from CNN World, published on June 26. The title is Inside the NATO Charm Offensive That Shocked as much as it delivered. It must have been the last thing NATO chief needed. Late Tuesday, on the eve of a crucial summit that would rock in a generational investments in NATO defense, Donald Trump's Truth Social account pinged with a single photo, a gushing message signed Mark Rutte, written in a carbon copy Trump style and overflowing with sycophantic phrase for the US president. You are flying into another big success in The Hague this evening, Rutte message read. Europe is going to pay in a big way, as they should. It'll be your win, he continued. You will achieve something no American president in decades could get done. While the diplomatic world has bent toward many norms of the Trump White House, this was extreme. Doubling down on the comments the following day, saying Trump deserved credit for his actions on Iran and NATO. Rutte waded through many observers' incredulity at his kowtowing tone. But as the summit crescendoed, there was a growing sense he may have pulled off a diplomatic masterstroke. Bromance. Rutte, the former Dutch Prime Minister, is no longer no stranger to dealing with Trump, having deployed his easy charm in several visits to Washington, D.C. during Trump's first term. Exuding an easygoing, relaxed image, his signature voices grin never far from his face. Rutte's charm offensive echoes that of other NATO's leaders. French President Emmanuel Macron has chartered up a boisterous bromance with Trump. Finnish President Alex Stubb bonded with him over rounds of golf, and Italian far-right Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has won a reputation as something of a Trump whisperer. She is a fantastic woman, in Trump's words. Rutte's message, signed with his surname, perhaps spoke of a less pally relationship. So did one of Trump's reaction Wednesday. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard. Trump announced in his Wednesday news conference. But in The Hague, Rutte seems too ready to do anything to burnish the president's ego and save him face. Trump's decision to attack Iran's nuclear program was extremely impressive, the NATO chief told Trump. The signal is sent to the rest of the world that this president, when it comes to it, yes, he's a man of peace, but if necessary, he's willing to use strength. Time and again around the summit, Rutte interjection soothed Trump's passage, softening his landing after a fiery attack at Iran and Israel's latest exchange of missiles lit up international headlines. Rutte response, a jockey aside in front of the world's camera. Daddy has to sometimes use strong language, he said beside Trump, after the US president used the analogy of two children fighting to describe the conflict between Iran and Israel. Rutte later said he wasn't referring to Trump as daddy, but was merely using a metaphor. The Dutchman didn't spare praise for Trump's strikes on Iran, a conflict technically outside the NATO wheelhouse, as the president railed against the suggestion in a leaked government assessment that undercut his claim the strikes obliterates parts of Iran's nuclear program. The Secretary General knows that personal relationships go a long way with this administration. Tori Tausig, a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council and a former NATO policy advisor at the Pentagon, told CNN. I do think this is a kind of hold your nose moment. Ensure there are no fireworks in The Hague. Get a good photo op and go home, she added. Beyond what, the whole summit was sculpted around Trump. Slimmer down, the schedule featured a single session for leaders. Experts have suggested this was for Trump's, who earlier this month skipped the ending of the G7 summit, missing a meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Of course, the summit result is largely preordained after rounds of pre-negotiations to ensure the leaders had to only rubber stamp declarations. Ukraine's war with Russia, by far the most pressing issue on NATO's agenda, was also exercised from the summit's final declaration, the first time it has been missing since Russian President Vladimir Putin's full invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Even the crown jewel of the gathering, the promise to spend 5% of the gross domestic products on defense, split into core defense requirements and 1.5% on defense-related spending by 2035, was a Trump-branded product. Back in January, Trump roped the idea of a 5% spending target for NATO members, a figure that had been given serious consideration before, as members limped towards 2%. They can afford it. They are at 2%, but they should be at 5%, he told journalists. The ends, not the means. But what may have had the last laugh? The summit was, by all accounts, a win for NATO. Members unanimously agreed to boost spendings to post-Cold War highs and thanked Trump for it. In diplomacy, you try to get a goal and an aim, and what did we achieve here? We achieved an historic result where NATO went back to its roots of collective defense. Finland stopped, told CNN on the side round of the summit. Spain was a notable exception, pushing for softened language that may have left a loophole for the Iberian nation to meet its responsibility for NATO military capabilities without having to spend 5% of GDP. The final summit declaration signed by NATO members referred only to allies in its close on spending, while others spoke of commitments will make. Leaders, led of course by Rhodes, singled out Trump as the whole pressure responsible for finally corralling NATO allies to previously unthinkable spending targets. Boosted defense spending is a success of President Donald Trump. Polish President Andrzej Duda told journalists at the summit. Without the leadership of Donald Trump, it would be impossible, he added. His Lithuanian counterparts suggest a new model for the alliance. Make NATO great again. As he welcomed the pressure, Trump had raved on stingy allies. I am up for all the pressure we can get. Lithuanian Defense Minister Doval Sakhalin told CNN. Smaller nations on the front line with Russia were buoyed by an alliance-wide commitment to meeting spending levels they had largely led the charge on. Everybody wins. One Western European official ahead of the summit shared the fear with CNN the summit would be marred by another diplomatic spat around Trump. But in public, comment on rote messaging to Trump was largely off limits, with the leaders waving off or swerving around questions. Finland's president wouldn't be drawn on the NATO Secretary General's message, but he said, however, diplomacy has so many different forms. Casualties, particularly from diplomatic skirmishes with Trump, were fewer than expected. Only Spain caught flack from the US president over its foot-dragging of the 5% GDP spend. I came here because it was something I am supposed to be doing, he added. But I left here a little bit different. It's terrible what they've done, Trump said, threatening to use trade talks to force Madrid into line. We are gonna make them pay twice as much, he said. Even Zelensky, who has had a turbulent relationship with Trump, came away with wins. While he stopped short of committing further US aid to Ukraine, Trump suggested Kyiv may see future Patriot missile system deliveries from the United States, and he slammed Putin as misguided, conceding the Russian leader may have territorial designs that extend further than Ukraine. Finally, Trump's own views on NATO open a prickly subject for the famous transaction presidents, so a reversal. These people really love their countries, Trump said of the NATO leaders at his news conference, concluding the NATO summit. It's not a live-up, and we are here to help them protect their country. Alright, thank you so much for watching my video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.